Good afternoon, everyone. I want to call to order the meeting of the Golf Committee of Sun City West. We have all members of the committee present except Norman. He notified us that he's out of town and unavailable to even be here virtually. So we do have a quorum. With regard to the minutes from March 11th, 2021 meeting, is there any additions, corrections, deletions anybody has? No, not hearing any? Then we'll take the minutes as was posted. So, everybody but Norman's here. I got that. Okay, we'll have our staff reports now, and we'll start with Pat O'Hara.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just have a few slides here that I'd like to share with everybody. This goes back to March 27th. This was our last event scheduled. In fact, this was a tournament that we scheduled about 4 weeks out when we saw that the COVID was softening a little bit. We thought we'd try and do another event, and it was a 3-person scramble. The interesting thing about this tournament is we played in sixums, and we are using it as a learning tool. The round of golf was pretty slow. Everybody seemed to enjoy the format, but it just took a long time to play. So we'll rethink that one. But here are the winners. We had 3 men's flights and a ladies' flight. And again, a lot of good things were said about the format, but just took a while to play. Here's some pictures up here. You're going to recognize somebody in that middle picture, I think.
Jen, I see you up there.
Steve Stenzel seems to cash quite often in our events, so. There we go. First flight. Some second flight winners there. Ladies' flight. And we paid both net and gross. Other events that we had since our last meeting, we had the Tin Cup, which was, for those that don't know, it's our softball fundraiser. They host a shotgun, or actually tea times. What did we do with that? We ended up doing shotgun on that. That was one of the first shotguns that we did. And we did it at Deer Valley and Trail Ridge. And then the Natterberg Foundation, we did, it's about our 6th year that we've done this for the Natterberg School District. We did it over at Stardust, and they had 100 players. Just real quickly on the Natterberg, the challenge for us in hosting an event of 100 players at an executive is that we had to transport 32 of our carts over there. So it becomes we're stealing from Peter to pay Paul, basically. And that's one of the things that we're looking forward to with the purchase of 25 carts. We're going to keep 15 and trade in 10. So we're actually expanding our fleet, and we're going to be able to store those over at Stardust. List of hole-in-ones. Typically, we have about 16 to 17 hole-in-ones a month. Most of them, as you can imagine, are over at the executive courses because there's 12 or so par threes. But you can see also that the regulation par threes are well represented as well. Todd will get into this. I'm sure he'll touch on this. Still looking for a lot of help and the need for the 90-degree cart path rule, especially as we go into this transition. Bermuda's going to kick in, and I'll let Todd talk about it. But any help that our players can give us on staying on the path as long as they can, cut it over at 90-degree angle, and then return to the path, that benefits the golf course. Couple reminders, 30 feet from tees and greens on the cart path. Keep up with the group in front of you and follow the directions of the player's assistant. Again, Todd, we put this in here just as a reminder. Today we closed Trail Ridge. Todd's got some projects going on there, and we're actually doing a project where we're replacing all the logos on our golf carts because they've been faded out over the last 3 years. Green team is going strong, anywhere from 120 to 150 golfers every Saturday. With the warm weather, that'll start dropping off. Also doing some free clinics for them, so we're trying to feed that pipeline. Get some new residents playing golf, and we're seeing some success. They meet on Saturdays. This time of year, it changes from anywhere from Stardust to Echo Mesa to Desert Trails. We've got this new program going. Has anybody been a part of this yet? If you buy a bucket of balls, purchase a bucket of range balls at any of the 6 golf courses. Grandview is not part of this due to the crooked putter, but there is a golden ball in there that has their logo, the Regency logo. And these folks are dermatologists. They actually have some other services they sell, but it's Regency Specialties. And if you get a golden ball, we think some people are playing them. But if you don't play them, you can turn it in and get a free drink of your choice. And we've given away about 35 to 40 drinks so far. So it's been kind of a fun promotion. We're hoping we're going to be saying so long COVID here close or quickly, but maybe not. It might linger around. These are the things that we've had to put up with over the last year or so. Just reminding everybody to keep their hands clean and wear a mask if you feel uncomfortable, and 6 feet is always a good distance to stay away. And that's going to go into a discussion here in a few minutes, so we'll pass on this. But we've come back somewhat normal, haven't we? We don't have rings in the hole, and we've added rakes. No mask in the pro shops or the restrooms at the clubhouse. So those are all good things. And that's what I have for right now before we get into another discussion.
Okay, thank you, Pat. Listen, on those gold golf balls, if you play it and you don't lose it in the water, can you then turn it in? I'm just...
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
just wanted to check to make sure, that's all.
Absolutely.
Okay, does anybody on the committee have any questions of Pat, of anything he gave so far? Go ahead, Patty. Yeah, come on.
Regarding the web portal,
Yes.
it's still not working for shotguns?
Web portal will, well, it is and it's not. So if are you talking about the notification?
The emails are coming out correctly, but on the web portal, it has hole number 1 and it gives them a tea
Correct.
time.
So what Patty's talking about is on a Wednesday, I'm sure you're talking about, when we put a template over our T sheet, the email references the template hole in time, but when you go into your itinerary, it'll read the underlying T sheet. So, yes, you're correct. It's still not working, and we're still working on that. Yeah. That's a, I don't know. So Linda and I talked about it the other day, and it's still on the docket to be looked at, yes. So tell them to go to their email, not the itinerary. Understand.
Okay, any other questions of Pat? Okay, then moving on. Pete, golf budget and expenses?
Good afternoon, everyone. So you'll have 2 months of data. We'll reference January 1st. First thing I would note is that there was, I think many of you may remember that at the end of January, we had just short of 4, maybe even 5 days where the rain essentially washed out almost all the play. And so in the revenue component on the month only up in the upper left-hand part, you can see where that, for the first time in my opinion all year, where we actually had golf fee revenues decline versus the prior year for sure, and then of course still against budget. That factored in as well for ancillary, which is our carts and range balls. Merchandise and food have all year until, like Pat just alluded to, where some of the reopenings with COVID restrictions lifted. Hopefully we'll start to see some of those percentages and dollar value variances start to abate. You will notice out in the year-to-date, for the most of the part, we're down on a lot of expense categories, but in February, nothing really materialized, either high or low. So only about a $1,500 favorable or negative variance, against the budget. And then round plays, which have almost historically, as you hear month after month, where either against budget or prior year, double-digit variances versus the prior. This was actually the first time where we saw a 5,281 round variance negative towards the prior year. So January reflected, the rain impact, and accordingly the impact on the income statement was felt. If we could move to February then. Things rebounded very well. If you go down to rounds at the bottom, 10% over budget, more 5% or so over prior year. And of course that translated, like we've been talking about, into golf fees at the top. Ancillary revenue rebounded, and the negatives in merchandise and food to be expected. Where we did see some rather material variances with things that we've been seeing for the most part throughout the year, it was in the expense categories, $86,000 less than budget, a similar impact against prior year, which led to almost a $74,000 at the very bottom, a $74,000 favorable variance. Kicking over to the year-to-date, in pretty good shape on almost all categories, or the comments that I've made at previous sessions are still applicable. Golf fees continue, and ancillary continue to have positive variances. Merchandise and food with the negatives, so no changes there whatsoever. And in our expense categories, but for landscape maintenance, which I know Todd's here, but I believe I've communicated it accurately. that there was a difficult overseeding this last year, but mostly due to the lack of rain and things like that. So that's the only expense category, as well as bank fees, which reflect all these revenues that were up, and there have been a little bit of increase in bank rates. So altogether, 306,000 favorable variance against budget. And most notably at the very end then, 361,000 a favorable contribution year-to-date through February. We've talked about this. I like to always re-mention it so that hopefully you guys will communicate it to whoever's interested, but our golf fees per round continue to be about 10% down, and when we research that, the outside play has been in a not as predominant percentage as in past years, and the growth of these rounds has predominantly been hitting the card holders, which is fine, but it does have the effect. Against the prior year, we are seeing some of the effect of the rate changes that were made. So I believe that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Tim?
I have some questions. Thank you. Pete, with rounds being up for this year, and we still have 2 good months of March and April of prime season to go through, what was being forecasted for next year in the budget? Are the rounds going to stay the same? Are they going to go up or down? What can you tell me?
Thank you, Tim. We actually being very conservative in our budget. We're presenting our forum tonight. We presented it yesterday. The run rate for rounds, everybody around here probably knows it very well, but for our open forum, about 280, 290,000 is the norm. We're elevating, of course, to the 310, even 320 range when it's all done. We took a very conservative posture for 2 reasons. One was that when the activities reopen across the spectrum of the association, we want to make sure we're not in a position where it retracts back to what we did before. And secondly, I brought it up a little bit earlier, but there's got to be some favorable impact in our current run rate with the lack of rain. Our rounds have not been materially impacted. March and April, again, to my knowledge, nothing. So we went with about a 290 run rate, and everybody around here loves golf, as do I, and I hope we exceed it and continue to flourish.
That's it. I've got another question, but I think it's probably more appropriate for Todd. I'll wait till he gets going. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else have a question for Pete? No? Okay, thank you, Pete. Okay, we'll move on to Mr. Patty, Environmental Services.
There we go. Thank you. We're doing a solid time on the fairways too, a deep time on the fairways as well. So that was about it. All right. So on to our report. Water usage report for last year, 2020. We actually did pretty good last year. We used 3885 acre-feet of water for all 7 golf courses. That put us about 76 acre-feet under a conservation allotment, or 10.85 per golf course. So we did really good considering the rainfall that we had, or lack of rainfall in the summertime during the monsoon season. We did record 6.3 inches of rain last year. 5.8 was during the winter months, which really doesn't help us a lot as far as conserving water. We can really save a lot of water when we get our monsoon season. So record-setting 2020, fewest rain days on record. Average rain days is 36. Last year, 2019, we had 43, and the lowest was 18 back in 53 and 2002. And then we set the record 2020, 15 days of rain days. It was the hottest summer on record, 53 days at 110 plus, and the old record was 33 from 2011. And then it was the second warmest year on record, average temperature of 77.2, and then a record was 77.3 from 2017, so pretty close there. And then this is just water history, water usage history. As you can see, starting in 2013, for the past 8 years, we have been under our conservation allotment. Even in years where we had very little, even in years where we had very little rainfall, you can see just over 5 inches, we were still able to stand under our conservation allotment. And then in 2019, we used 3,500 acre feet of water, which was the lowest that I've seen since I've been here. So I credit this to our water management, the projects that we do on the golf course, shoreline projects, irrigation projects. So I think all of our efforts and money that we spent on water conservation is finally paying off. Spring outlook for March through May. As you know, March was dry. April's turning out to be the same way. Looks like we're going to be about 50% above average on our outlook for the temperature, and then the precipitation outlook looks like it's going to be about 50% chance of below normal. So the good news is, summer outlook for 2021, June, July, and August, our monsoon season, we're looking at a 40% chance of above average rainfall. So that's when we're going to save quite a bit of water, when we get those monsoon rains in. So that's good news. All right, just an update on the fifth management plan, ADWR, Arizona Department of Water Resources. The Water Department has provided, they call them turf calculators for the fifth management plan for our golf courses. So I filled those out, and what you do is up here you put in the total acres in Grandview. I'll use it as an example, 163.7 acres of irrigated turf. Number of holes, of course, 18. Water surface acreage, 7.8. Low water use acreage, put 0 in there. And then year the golf course was constructed or built, 1983. And then we're in the Phoenix Active Management Area. So you put those numbers into your calculator, and then this automatically fills in. And you can see it gave us a proposed allotment, annual allotment of 599.81. A little bit hard to see here, but the only difference here is in the low water use acreage, we put 20 acres in there, and you can see it actually bumped up our annual allotment. So it went from 599 to 613. All right, left-hand column, you can see those are the current allotments that we have in the third management plan. And then I put in the turf reduction. And then off to the right-hand column, you can see our new allotments. So the bottom line is, in the fifth management plan, that we're going to have a difference of almost 100 acre feet of water from the third management plan, or about 14.2 acre feet per golf course. If we remove 58.86 acres in this plan, you'll save about 100, I estimated that we'll save about 105 acre feet of water, and that's based off of 1.7 acre feet per acre rate, is what I figured, to arrive at that number. So it'll offset that 99.43 that we're going to lose in the fifth management plan in 2025. And I did confirm this with, I was down at the water department, and I did confirm this with them. Because when I did the calculator, it actually showed where it was giving us more water. And they said, yeah, that can happen. It's rare, but there are golf courses out there in the Phoenix area that will happen based on the year that it was built and how many acres, surface acres of water that you have, and then your low water use. Now, I do want to point out that if we remove any more than this, the 20 acres at Grandview, 6.3, 16.5 at Pebblebrook, 10.8 over at Echo Mesa, it doesn't change, it doesn't give us any more water, okay? All right, so just a summary of the fifth management plan, still in development and scheduled to go into effect on January 1st of 2025, and it will include reduced conservation allotments and turf reduction. Again, about 100 acre-feet allotment reduction for all 7 golf courses. If we remove 58.6 acre-feet of turf, or let's say 60, turf conversion savings is about 105 acre-feet of water by doing that. And again, if we take out any more turf than that, it doesn't change that number. We're not going to get any more water for that. All right, and then the putting green renovation project at Pebblebrook. Let me go back to that one slide real quick. You can see here, this is just a sketch of where we're going to enlarge that green. It's all, there's a curb that goes around the entire green. We're going to take it all the way out to the curb. There may be a little area between the green and the curb that won't be green surface, but we're going to use as much of that area that we can. So construction start date Thursday, May 6th. We'll install new drainage and irrigation. We'll put 328 sand-based sod on it at that time. The current size is 5,700 square feet. The new size, we're estimating about 10,002. Reopening is scheduled for August 1st. The chipping green on the north side of the pro shop will then become the putting green. We'll put the putting green markers over there during this time where we have it closed. And then the chipping and putting area behind the driving range that we have will be available for practice. We have a nursery back there, but we'll go ahead and put the cupless markers back there for putting. And of course, the project goal is to enlarge the putting green and then reduce the slope of the green. It's not going to be entirely flat. It's going to have a little movement to it. I think we're going to need that over there because the greens out on the golf course, you're going to end up with a side hill, downhill, uphill putt. So you still want to practice those types of putts. And I'll take any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Tim?
Yeah, I actually have a couple questions, Todd. One, this is about the water management plan. When you do the calculator, you do it by each course individually, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Now, once you get all 7 courses, you get the water for that. Do they look at us in aggregate? So if we're low on one, can we use a little more on another?
Yeah, and that's what's really helping us out. We're able to combine all 7 golf courses with our allotment.
Okay.
If we weren't, then we'd probably be in trouble because there are some golf courses where the water does go down, the water allotment goes down a little bit, where we couldn't manage that, but we have some golf courses where we have excess water that we can take from that golf course. So that's a big help to us to be able to combine all 7 golf courses.
Right. Okay, and I have a question that goes back to Pete's presentation. Was any of the savings in expenses due to projects that you pushed back?
No, I would say no. No.
Okay. That's it.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, you had, I thought you had something else, Todd, no.
Nope, that's it.
Anybody else have any questions?
I got one.
Yes, Dave.
So Todd, on the Pebblebrook putting green, are you going to remove everything that's on the green now, completely remove that and then rebuild sort of from scratch?
Yeah, we're gonna remove all the turf. We're gonna remove all the sand base, the drainage, everything. We're gonna start from the bottom and work back up. And we'll put new drains in, and yeah, everything's gonna be new from the bottom up.
And I'm glad you keep some slope there because there's a number of greens out there that are pretty severe.
Yeah, absolutely. So you'll still be able to practice those side hills and downhill putts.
All right.
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay. Moving on to new business. This is something, I don't know whether Pat or Bill are there in conjunction going to give it. We had this discussion, I know the 3 of us, about golf cart usage, and we'll combine them in the clubhouse gatherings, about opening them up.
As we move forward and get out of the restrictions with COVID-19, for those that have been playing, notice that we don't have tables and chairs in the pro shops, and we're trying to address that and get everybody's input on that. Along with that, we're looking at number of carts in the group. So First, the tables and chairs in the pro shops. One of the concerns is to protect our employees, making sure that they feel comfortable, that they're not into an environment that could go from being 4 to 6 people to 45 people really quick. So the tables and chairs, we also have monitors on Wednesdays and Tuesdays that we would like to try and take care of them as best we can. So that impacts them as well. And I think, Patty, you'd appreciate that. Yeah. But, so that's one topic. And then the other, of course, is the carts and how we want to, if we do, it's been a challenge for the maintenance side with Todd, and he can go into more details if need be, but the compaction of the golf course, it's helped the pace of play. We've had discussions concerning possibly entertaining carts through the summer this way and then rolling it back during the overseed. But we'd like to get Todd in this conversation as well. But those are the two things that, challenges that we're seeing right now at this juncture, is how to handle the pro shops and how to handle the carts going forward. Bill, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I'd like to just get some input from the committee, obviously, on a couple things that we're talking about. So I'm not sure where you want to start. One of the things, if I may just add something real quick, one of the things that came up during some of our budget hearings was one of the governing board members was talking about electric carts. You know, we have a proposal within our budget right now. I think Pat's picking up 25 additional carts. And, you know, the wave of the future, the green footprint, that type of thing, it was suggested that we take a look at electric carts. And so one of the things that we were trying to do, I think initially talking to Pat, and when maybe golf members renew their discount passes for the year, we just simply ask a question, what kind of cart do you drive? And just get some data. But just going around the room, what do you think the percentage is as far as gas carts for personal use are being used out there versus electric? Pretty heavy gas? More so, right? To what do you think percentage? Yeah, that? Yeah, you think? Okay. You know, talking with the gas cart companies and electric cart companies and that type of thing, I think what we're seeing now, I'm not sure technology's there yet. Obviously, I mean, we've all played golf courses that have electric golf carts on them. But typically, they're going to be good for a couple rounds. I'm not sure on distance-wise, and I'd hate to send somebody out there with a not fully charged cart and having somebody stuck on the 13th hole and we have to deal with it. That's one thing. Secondly, you know, if you have a personal cart, you're going to golf, let's take an average of maybe 3 times a week, and that golf cart and those batteries are going to have a useful life of X. Well, the fact that we have limited golf carts, we can potentially do 3 rounds a day or 2 rounds a day. And so the longevity, I think, of those batteries would be something that we'd be replacing carts a lot more frequently than we do with the gas carts. And that's going to affect Pete, long-term budgeting and that type of thing too. So I'm not sure we're there yet, but we are getting a little bit of pressure and concern about, you know, the green footprint. And so just kind of maybe some chat around the table as far as what you think or a direction we may want to
Does anybody have a
go.
lithium battery cart here? Okay. I got a lithium battery lawnmower. Do you? You like it? Texas, I love it. Okay.
So when Pat goes out for bid and we start looking at these carts and whatnot, depending on who the low bid is, I think we may want to talk them into potentially, I don't know if it's a comp cart or something like that, but just something to do a study. Maybe we can use a few and just see what we're getting out of them, how people like them or whatever, but we'll see. But like Pat said, I mean, oftentimes we do find some carts in the lake too. And
Yeah. So just real quickly, an overview of what on the research I've done is that the 25 carts that we have scheduled to purchase this year are going to cost us $4,900 a piece. A lithium battery cart right now is $7,500. The lithium batteries offer a residential warranty of 8 years. So somebody that's a private cart owner can expect to get close to 8 years out of those lithium batteries. On a commercial side, they're saying 5. Now, the interesting thing is, and I've had a few discussions with this,
lithium rolled out in 2017. And there are some courses that have fleets of lithium. And the two concerns that I had were, okay, how long are they really lasting? 5 years? And they go, so far they've been pretty good, okay? And then how do you dispose of these lithium batteries? And they said, we don't know, we haven't had to do that yet. So there's some unknowns out there. If we do have some carts that we purchase at $7,500 a piece, and they do warranty them for 5 years, and then after 5 years we have to buy another $2,500 set of lithium batteries, the slide that we were looking at is here's my existing fleet. 100% of my golf carts are 5+ years old. 10 years old or older are half of my fleet. So we do a pretty good job of maintaining these and keeping them running. The thing that kind of I keep coming back to is, yes, it might be the way we need to go in the future as we get some more data and some more history, but it's not solving my problem because I don't have enough carts as it is. So we could buy a more expensive cart. It could be better possibly in the long run, but it's not dealing with the issues that we have right now. So here's a kind of a quick overview. We have 136 carts in the fleet. If we did a full turnover, you can see that 136 carts by $7,500 is a little over $1 million. And then we have to retrofit our cart barns to handle that because they're not set up for electric. So we have some challenges. Not to say that it's not something to look at. I think it's a good discussion to have. And by the way, this next week, Bill, we will have a demo out here so that people can look at it and drive. But they are supposed to go significantly further than the lead acid batteries, and they say it's the wave of the future. So with that information, anybody think that that's the way we need to go? Tim?
I can see several downsides to that, unless you go in and just replace the whole fleet, because then you're going to have two sets of mechanics and two
Right.
sets of parts to go with them and all that other kind of stuff. So, and then what are you going to do with people that drive their gas carts? You going to make them?
So that came out too, and that doesn't seem like that would be the way to go on that either.
I mean, like Grand is you can only use electric carts, but they started out that way. So when people bought in, they knew they had to buy an electric cart, and that. Here, I think you get a lot of pushback going to electric carts.
Is that true on homeowners too, in Grand?
I believe so, on the golf courses, yeah.
Electric carts?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, they,
Right.
oh, really?
You can take a gas cart on the street because it's public streets.
Not on the golf course?
But they won't allow them on the golf course.
Ever knew that?
So quite a bit initial outlay to do it. And again, I think every year we just need to kind of compare prices and see where we are. But if the only way I could see this working would be to do one course at a time or do it all at once. And the one course at a time would just extend it out too long, and I think you'd have some challenges. So
Just another comment, and that is with all the major expenses we're going to have on our golf courses over the next coming years, I think this should be way down on the priority list.
And so revenue for golf carts in a typical year for us, and this will show you also this year's revenue, but fiscal year 2019 for golf cart revenue was $223,000, almost $224,000. This year, through the end of March, we've already exceeded $265,000 in revenue. So that's not going to be the norm. The 225, 223 would be more the norm. Plus, we've got a price increase, so it'll go up. But to spend $1.1 million on something like that, I would agree with you, Tim, that I would rather see it on the irrigation.
Pat, just a question. Did anybody look at, let's say both carts had the same life expectancy. Would it be cheaper to maintain the gas cart as opposed to an electric? I don't know how much work has to be done on gas carts.
So we put together, we do preventive maintenance, change the oil, change the filters on a golf cart. We also have some belts that need to be replaced. Both have tires, both have steering columns, so we kind of just, that's a wash. We spend on a average just under $500 a cart at our age of carts to maintain them. And that includes gas for the season and their preventative maintenance. So it's almost, it would become a wash once we get into that second set of batteries. We're spending it almost the same.
Right. About the same. About the same.
With the electric, are you going to get solar power to plug it in, or are
Yeah.
electricity bills going to go up?
So they're saying it's about 3 mega, what do they call that, megawatts to charge it. Supposedly it's less than 50 cents, 75 cents to charge these carts. But again, that's an unknown for us too.
Personally, with me, is with electric carts, as the battery, as you start losing power, the charge goes slower and slower. As with the gas, as long as you got gas in the tank, it's going to keep on going.
So that's the interesting thing with this. It's either on or off. So you won't have that degradation of power with this. You'll just come in one day and it's not there,
Yeah.
which is kind of a scary thought.
Pat, how many rounds per year do we rent golf carts for?
Our fleet,
Yeah.
well, yeah, divide it by $14. Let's see.
Take total income divided by $14, will give you close to your average.
225.
While you're calculating that, one of the comments I have on our current gas carts, and I know it's because they're old, is the emissions coming out of them is really bad. Sometimes, with the 4 carts now, we have a rental cart in the group, and you can't stand to drive behind it for the fumes coming out of these carts.
So, and hopefully those are one of the 10 that we're getting rid of. They're being identified, and Rick Brooks, who does a wonderful job for us maintaining these, has identified those oil burners, and they'll be, hopefully you don't see it very often, every once in a while, right? Okay. I don't have a calculator.
16,000
16,000,
car rentals.
and if you divide that by 136,
What's that?
number of carts in our fleet, that'll kind of tell you how many go out.
Well, here's my point. Last year, when we were looking at putting together the budget, one of the things that we did was we increased rates with the idea that it was going to be additional money to go in to pay for irrigation, if you remember that. If we've got if we put out 16,000 rounds in golf carts, if we charge an extra couple of dollars, you could quickly be able to buy 10 new carts a year. I mean,
Right, so that's one of the replacement things that we're working on, and you'll see in the presentation. Next year, we're planning on buying 20. So in the next 2 years, and going back to this slide, you can see that it's been a while since we've bought carts. So we're trying to get on a replacement schedule so that, yes.
right.
And somewhere I see, and it might be 10 years from now, that 5 years from now, that leap to start going into that lithium might be, but I would hate to bite that bullet for 100, because our goal is to get to 150 or 160 carts.
Right.
And to bite that bullet all in one year would be a tough pill to swallow. But I think you almost have to do it that way.
Well, my point is, instead of just saying it's to buy 20 carts, it's going to take $90,000, whatever, that if you look at increasing the rate of the cart rental with the idea of you're pre-buying carts, so to speak, so that at the end of the year you would have money set aside to go ahead and buy more carts.
Okay. Help prepay for the carts.
Right.
Yeah, good thought.
And that's 444 rentals per cart as we sit today. So a little over a round a day.
Okay, any other questions on golf carts? Do you want to, anybody?
Well, one, I think Pat was talking about, and I think Todd, I don't know if you want to chime in on this one or not, but we were talking about going back to pairing people up
Oh, yeah. That's
as far as getting away from the 4 carts per round thing. So, ideas on that?
I think that's Todd, Scott.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that. In fact, this week, I've seen more people pairing up, so that was a good sign. But I tell you what, our golf courses have really taken a beating with those 4 carts out there per group for the last year, and we're seeing signs of that, especially from the cart path into the rough areas as you get into the fairways. My concern is, and you're not going to see those areas right now, but some transition areas, some traffic areas in the fairway that aren't showing right now because of the ryegrass. But once that ryegrass checks out, I think we may see some of the damage in the fairways as a result of the 4 carts per group. So, but yeah, I'm sooner the better to go back to 2 carts per group. That would help me out a lot.
Go ahead, Tim. You can
Yeah,
start off.
I have a comment about that, and in fact, it piggybacks on the comment about putting tables up in the clubhouses too, and that is, most everybody I know has already been vaccinated, okay? That should take care of any problem as far as being in close contact with anybody else. I'm ready to go back to 2 people in a golf cart. Just means I have to ride with my brother-in-law, which has issues, but
Everybody's got some family problems.
yeah, I'm ready to go back to 2 in a cart, and I'm ready to put tables back in the clubhouse too.
I think if I heard correctly, the vaccination rate for this zip code is now at 80%. 76, okay. Somebody told me this morning that they saw, this morning's report said 80, but I don't know. But, I mean, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think it's great being in your individual cart as far as pace of play, but I can imagine what it's doing to the turf, and it's going to cost us in the long run.
Okay, any other comments? Dave?
Yeah, I pretty strongly disagree. I'd like to stay with individual carts as long as we can. In the summertime, I think we're going to see reduced amount of play, and that may give us a little breathing room as far as I'm concerned. And I think Pat mentioned it earlier that we would probably see reduced as normal. We'd have reduced play in the summer. And if we could go through the summer months and keep our option to go with individual carts or not. I know we say a lot of people here have received the 2 vaccinations already, and I have, but every Thursday when my wife's playing golf and I'm playing golf, I rent a cart. And those rental carts are probably primarily used by outside players and not our residents. So who knows who's using those, and I assume now we've stopped sanitizing those carts. So I would still like to have the option to use my own cart. And some of the medical people have said, we shouldn't spike the ball on the 5-yard line, okay? And all these vaccinations have received emergency approval from the FDA. Emergency means they're good for a while. Are they good for 3 months, 6 months, a year? We don't know that yet. I think there's too much about the virus that we don't know. And that's my personal opinion, and I think it's the opinion of a lot of medical people. So I think that's all I have to say on that subject, okay? I'd just like to have the option to go a little bit longer till we get more information and the FDA can give final approval to some of these vaccines and not just emergency.
Anybody else want to chime in? Patty?
Well, I think the golf carts could be 2 in a golf cart. Now, if you are uncomfortable, you can wear a mask when you're in the golf cart with your playing partner. We're outside. When you're inside, now I have a concern about inside the clubhouse at Deer Valley. Specifically at Deer Valley, because one of our starters has a very compromised health situation going on right now. And I think everybody should be very careful when they're in the Deer Valley clubhouse. But riding in the golf cart, if you're uncomfortable, wear a mask. Otherwise, I think both people can be in a golf cart.
Let me ask a question, because that was mentioned there. Are the golf carts sanitized when they come in? They are sanitized.
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't know. Steve, do you have anything?
We won't get into a discussion of the science of vaccination and the FDA, but I would suggest that a compromise is simply to offer people the option, but to encourage two people in a cart. The groups that I play in have done that.
Okay. Tom, did you have anything?
I commented earlier that I think it's time to go to the two people in a cart, and I agree with what Patty says, if you're uncomfortable, wear a mask. I've done some tournaments in different parts of the area around here, and most all of them are two people in a cart now. Some of them, they were requiring the players to put a mask on if they were in a cart, but that was, when COVID was really rampaging, but not now. So I think being outside in that area, I don't know. Steve, I don't know what kind of incentive you're talking about, a financial incentive to go two in a cart, is that what you're saying, or?
No, just the option that if you want to do a single cart, fine, but encourage. I don't know if I used the word incentive. If I did, I didn't mean to. But encourage people to double up.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is it, Pat? What is it now? It's only one person to a cart right now?
You can do either or right now, but most of them are
Even if you're not like relatives or anything like that?
correct.
So
Right.
if I never met Tim before, oh, never mind.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
So to incentivize somebody would be through the price, right?
Yeah.
Because right now we're just charging a half cart fee and letting them take the cart. But then it becomes cost prohibitive to charge for a full cart. And Dave, that would be you probably wouldn't want to play. Anybody wouldn't want to play if they had to pay for the whole cart, I would think.
I wouldn't mind if I have that option, I'd pay
Okay.
it. I'd pay it. I just want to say, we all have, in this community, we're getting the 2-shot 80% or whatever heck it is. But that's because we're all in that 1A group, and we got our shots early, and that's because we are the most at-risk community because of our age and underlying conditions, and that's why we got in to get our shots early. That's where I'm coming from, okay?
So Sun City Grand, because we all talk, Sun City Grand is not allowing any public play. You have to be a resident or a guest of a resident to play there. And that's the way they've done it the last year. They found that worked for them. We allow public play. Is that something to look at? Does that change anybody's mind on that scenario? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Public play, it's a whole group, or it's a two.
Right.
We're not intermixing
Right.
hardly at all.
Okay, does anybody have any other thoughts? Bill, do you need anything else? Pat?
Well, I think Todd's the number one concern here in the sense that we've got to do what we have to do to protect the golf course.
Could we just start publicizing what damage is being done by this and encouraging people to pair up the carts? Not making it a requirement, and do that through May and see what happens?
So in the past, it was a different subject. People smoked, and we allowed a third cart in that group. So that was kind of a vague, seemed to, somebody had a cold, didn't want to get somebody else infected, so they at times allowed to ride in 3 carts. That's better than 4. Going back to the original deal where maximum of 3 carts in a group, with the encouragement of getting back down to 2. And then we can look at it in another 30 days, see if we need to go down even further.
Todd?
No, I was just going to comment, like I did earlier, that I'm starting to see people riding together, so that's a big help. Plus, you know, the number of rounds this time of the year is starting to drop off, and that's just going to continue as we get closer to the summer months. So that's going to help us in that regard. But you know, even if we had 60 or 70% of the people that would ride with somebody else, that would be a big help, especially going into the summer months. Again, you don't have the play that you have in the high season, you know, after overseeding. So, and I understand that, you know, the speed of play, that is so important. Every year, everyone tries to find ways to speed up play, and now that they've found it, it's kind of hard to turn away from that, isn't it? And so I understand that, but it definitely is. The golf courses are taking a beating out there. They normally do when we have 2 carts per group, and we see that where we have to go out there and give those areas a little more attention, whether it's, you know, hand watering or aerification, fertilizing and stuff like that, and even sodding if they get too bad. But and we're prepared to do that. So, but yeah, if we could really start leaning towards two players or 2 cards per group, that would certainly help me out.
Outside users are typically going to play, and more than likely that's going to be father, son, husband, wife coming in here, so they travel together to get here. And putting them in single carts really is kind of odd. If they're going to get back in the same truck and car and go home together, why separate them on a golf course? So I would promote it to kind of help out as far as the turf goes, but if there's someone, like in Dave's case, if you prefer to have your own cart, I think through the summer months, we allow it, but we encourage the other way.
Yeah, fair enough. I know when I play golf and I go down the cart path, I always look for a place to get off the path that has not been used. You know, not create a path all the way across. But I'm sure a lot of people don't do that, so you get this rut going from cart path to fairway. And I don't know if we've ever tried putting in gates where you leave the cart path and where you return to the cart path. I don't know if that's ever been tried. Some courses do that, but.
Yeah, and you know, we may even experiment with that in the next month or so, the gate system that you have on the golf courses, and see if that helps.
Anyway, appreciate all your thoughts there. Thanks.
The eyes that you guys have on the golf course, the amount of rounds you play, have you seen 2-wheel carts out there yet? Yeah. Are they out there?
I just saw one.
2-wheel? Is that right?
One-person cart.
Yeah. Wow. I haven't seen them.
They are out there. I haven't seen them yet.
Didn't you have one come?
Yeah, we had a demo for a little while, and we had a couple people that have purchased them, yes.
Wow.
And I think that's where it's going to eventually go. I think it's going to be a wheel count with the advent of the 2-wheel scooters and stuff. It's going to be X amount of tires on the turf is going to limit your number of vehicles on the golf group. I think that's where it's going to eventually land.
one thing, by doing this, going back to the two carts, we have a pandemic of another sort here of cart robbery or cart stealing. I think people are going to be very hesitant to leave their carts on the parking lots out front. Do we have security cameras on the front parking lots of these courses?
We don't.
Yeah. I think that's going to be another issue, because I mean, now you go around and everybody's got their cart on the course, you know. But you go on a Wednesday when everybody's two in a cart, Deer Valley parking lot's full of golf carts sitting there. Just something to think about.
Reports that I've seen thus far, I think the hottest spot as far as getting your cart removed is Safeway, believe it or not.
Yeah.
But
Any of the big parking lots. Okay, any other further?
Percent still? Full capacity?
Yeah,
I was
a
gonna
couple
use-
I've gone to, they're a little less, but not 50. They're a lot more than 50 right now.
Okay.
the only thing with that is, I mean, most times when you go to a restaurant, you're not gonna walk in there, pick up the table and move it into a group of 15, That's really the only problem as far as the indoor goes, when you get that much of a cluster. If they're spread out and stayed spread out, yeah, I'm good with it. But the way you've seen it, as well as I've seen it, you get a group of 4, it turns into a group of 30 pretty quick.
Yeah,
So is,
everybody wants inside, yeah.
so would it be prudent to maybe start with, usually we have 10 tables in the pro shop, 40 people. Start with a lesser amount, and as we see the success and the temperatures warm up and we buy ourselves a little bit of time, then work on getting to full capacity. Does that sound reasonable to everybody? Well, we would have, let's say, if normally we have 10 tables, we have 4 or 5 in there, and we have X amount of seats, and then that's it. And once those are occupied, you're good. So that would help protect our employees, but yet still have the availability of an indoor area. Does that sound reasonable?
Okay, everybody think that'd be good working?
So something like 4 or 5 tables, and that also gets our monitors in there during the week too. Oh. Okay.
Okay, Pat, you got that?
All right.
All righty. Anything else anybody want on those two subjects? Patty?
Todd's checking with his wife.
Yeah.
We're right now at 7:30 for April. Yep. We're good to go to 7 o'clock.
Or how about the first week of May?
Because then we go to, okay, perfect. May 1st.
Sunday.
Shotgun at
Saturday.
7 o'clock.
Got anything, Tim? Oh, okay. Okay, that's it on those subjects. Okay, thank you very much, Pat. Bill? Okay, let's go around the table. Are there any further committee comments? Patty, you have anything? No? Dave? Steve? Good. We'll come to the famous Tim Hurley.
infamous. Two comments. One, the idea of the ring at the bottom of the flag, so that when you lift out the flag, it pops your ball out, that is a stroke of genius. That is,
Who invented that?
it was actually funny that once those, the foam got taken out of the holes, see how much trouble some guys, myself included, getting down and reaching to the bottom of the cup. So that's a great idea.
There's two courses that we don't have that in the bottom of the cup, and that's Stardust and Desert Trails. Those are on back order, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll get those in.
Okay.
So, but the other golf courses have that. I was before, you know, with that new rule of being able to leave the flag stick in, you know, people would reach in there with their hand and they would do some damage to the edges. So I was seeing that. So that's why we put that in the bottom of the cup. So you pull the flag stick now that you can touch it, pull the flag stick out, and then the ball comes out. So there's no need to even stick your, you know, you have that device at the end of your putter where you can, the suction cup or whatever. So there's really no reason to reach into the hole to retrieve your ball. So.
Yeah, I have another comment too, and this is about COVID. When the virus first hit everybody, nobody had any, everybody was at risk for getting it. Now that the vaccinations are out and now that the rates are going down and things like that, I still think it comes down to personal responsibility. If you feel compromised, it's your responsibility to do what you have to do to uncompromise yourself. So
I agree with you.
that's my feeling anyway. So I think right now it's back on the person to do what they have to do to maintain their good health.
Steve, did you have anything? No? Anything else, Tom? Okay, the committee's on. I see we have a couple of guests here. Is there any comments from the guests? No? Okay, with that, yeah, go ahead, Pam. Got you timed. Okay, thank you, Pam. Okay.
Just a heads up, we will have a meeting, I think it's next week, I'm not sure it's scheduled yet. Todd, Pat, and I will be meeting with Dave over at the Golf Lab as well as Jeff at the Crooked Putter to make sure they're understanding of Todd's schedule as far as any closures upcoming in a year or so to Grandview, so we can make accommodations for them well in advance so they know what they're up against as far as that goes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, our next meeting is scheduled right now, May 13th. It'll be in Social Hall West. We'll be back over on the other side. And with that, I thank you all for coming out today, and the meeting is adjourned.